welcome for the 10 for 10.
The longest episode ever because we've tried how many times to record this episode?
This is our third time, and there comes a time in every recorder, vlogger, video person's life where you don't give a beat.
I mean, the thing is, we recorded this episode once. The first time we tried recording it, it was successful, but then the whole problem with the laptops happened, and that episode disappeared with the rest, everything
Basically,
else.
the laptop
shut
down. Oh, they do?
I mentioned it in an earlier video, not that anyone watches those. But the second time, this camera, who we thought was...
My shirt has a hole. That shows how much I care.
The camera, who we thought was clear, it suddenly decided it was full of data.
Yeah, so I cleaned it out.
By the way, new haircut.
Like it? I don't care if you don't.
Look really hard. How much
that's Moose.
How much hairspray?
I didn't. He put it. The guy who put my hair put it. He put a ton.
Seriously, this could be used as a bicycle helmet.
I will. I will use it as a bicycle helmet.
Here, let's test it out. So this is our fourth attempt, because on the third one I knocked her out. Okay, but back to all seriousness. This is 10 for 10, and she and I both read mangas. We have different tastes in mangas. Like many people have different tastes in lots of things, like food. So the whole point of 10 for 10 is that she is forced to read 10 chapters of a manga she would normally never pick up. Not because she wouldn't like it, but because for one reason or another she doesn't think it'll appeal to her. And then she does the same thing to me. Read a manga that I normally wouldn't pick up on my own. And we read it to find out whether, this really is something we would like. That maybe we shouldn't have judged the book on its cover. And with that, let's begin.
Let's get started, shall we? I just quoted someone else. Anyway, the manga I was getting was Hitoganta.
Hitoganta. Ganta. Katana.
Katana!
Yeah, it's basically katana, except with a G. So Hitogata.
Hitogana. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Hitogata.
Doesn't matter, woman. We're gonna put a link anyway. Anyway, so the manga is basically about robots. Who would have guessed? But essentially, instead of the typical robots where a person goes inside the suit, essentially what it is, you go inside a pod. And then your soul gets put inside the robot. And the robot becomes your new body. And you're able to control it from the pod. During this time, your body's completely lifeless and you essentially become the robot. And you cannot stay in this state forever too long, but the state is difficult. And they tend to use these robots for essentially the police.
Police, construction work, anything that would require human dexterity, but with some serious danger to it.
So as a result, people use these robots for that. Our main characters are a group of 3 people, until they later on are accompanied by a 4th, who are police.
They're cops.
They're cops, that's essentially it.
They're cops who use the robots to capture criminals who are also using the robots.
Our main character is a guy who's half a robot, so as a result, he doesn't need to use the pod himself. The second one is his roommate, this woman. She has her own robot, and I really do like her robot's design. Is essentially it looks like a rocker, really.
Yeah.
Like a guy with a huge coat with long hair. He looks like a rocker.
That's one thing about the manga, right? That thing. Which is a plus, though some people might call it a minus. The fact is that every character you have to remember 2 faces. Their face, their regular human face, and how they look like when they're using the robot, because the robots, more often than not, look nothing like the people who are piloting them.
And we have their old man they're accompanied with. Who is mechanic. The 4th member they get joined by is someone who's like our main character, the half robot and half human. And she is the mechanic's apprentice. So what is it about the world? Essentially, it's just them doing cop things, stopping crime. At least for the 10 chapters. During these 10 chapters, it takes a very unique art style. A lot of it is dark and huge amounts of ink is used, which is very difficult for anyone who draws knows this is something not easy to do. And whether it is something that is plus or minus, it's hard to tell. It's really an art style that needs to grow on you, but personally I think once you get into it, you really can't imagine it any other way.
No, I certainly can't.
As for the characters themselves, they feel very real. You can see their struggles, you can see their interactions, and a lot of them feel like an actual family. It doesn't feel like random characters who are just put in a room and we're supposed to believe they know each other. I also like the fact is that the manga doesn't just throw you all the information. It takes your time to let you go into the world. Now, it can be a little bad if you don't do it the right way, but the manga doesn't seem to do it in a wrong way. It's just you need to be patient and let the information come to you. What else do I like? I like the fact is that the females who are cops dress appropriate. None of them are wearing anything ridiculous. There are no high heels in their robots. They look like they are built for combat, and they do combat. They do their job. And when we actually see a woman who is a leader of a crop group of her own. And we also see that she is very okay with being blunt and open if she wants to take you out on a date. And I think that's refreshingly different in mangas, and I love it. She's...
The thing with the character she's describing is that, yes, once again, she's the leader of her own squad. She is responsible, but when you look at her appearance, she strikes you as, the standard smart Asian chick, Oh, very clean, very tidy. She seems to be the kind of person who'd be kind of strict, maybe a little bit on big sisterly side. You don't expect her to be drinking, you don't expect her to be very blunt, but she is. She makes no attempt to hide the fact that she's into the protagonist, and even though so far nothing goes on between him and her, yeah, she makes it very clear what her intentions are.
But the point is, her character isn't designed to look like a slut. She is clearly someone who you can respect, admire, who's perfectly open, a hard worker, and if she wants to take you out, she's going to be blunt. Hey, I want to take you out.
Heck, this is even reflected into her robot. Like other characters, they have robots with interesting weapon designs. For instance, what about the main character? The main character can create swords out of rust. His sister?
His sister? Oh, you
Yeah, they refer to each other like brothers.
Do you mean the girl who gets drunk? The roommate?
The roommate. She's the leader of his squad.
Okay, so the roommate, the other girl, the roommate that has her own robot, she essentially uses like this whip-like weapon. That seems very effective, and she uses it in very creative ways. Other than just like slashing out at her enemies, she may twist around a part and then use that to pull a pole, attack you. If she loses a limb or something, she'll leave it there because she can actually manipulate it without it being connected to her. So she is very creative, and she actually is very fun, and she's very laid back.
But as for the woman that we were talking about earlier, the one who's blunt, her secret weapons is nothing.
She don't need one.
Her robot just smashes things with its fists. It has no built-in weapons, no trick up its sleeve. It just punches things until it stops moving.
But aside from that, there's a lot of good things about this manga, but now let's jump into some negatives. The pacing is its biggest problem. The pacing is not exactly smooth, especially during the fight sequence. At one point, it's like, wait, we started this building. How come we're now in this completely other building? Where did this happen? Sometimes you feel like you've skipped a few pages. Another thing is that at the beginning of the manga, when we're establishing the main character's strength, it doesn't play off as smoothly. It comes across first that it's just like the main character. I'm the only one who can save the day. No one else can. But thankfully the author picks up on it right away and quickly shifts the gear to show that each member of his crew is perfectly capable of defending themselves.
In a later chapter, they get challenged by another group of robot users, and the main character loses his fight.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Completely loses his fight.
But you see, I personally think while there is no proof of this, I believe that this manga, chances are, was maybe the author's first manga that got published. or one of his earlier works, because a lot of the mistakes you see are really beginner errors. Pacing, maybe making one character shine too much over another, not really putting in the information clear. Really, a lot of it is beginner's error, but he's picking it up right away, and he's really smoothing it out as it goes. So I would recommend that this manga is one you just have to be patient with. And if you're able to do that, you really can just enjoy the world.
All right, then.
I would give it really, this is just for the 10 chapters. I'm sure after the 10 chapters, it would be better. But within the 10 chapters, I give it a 3.5. Only because of those beginner mistakes, not because it's a bad manga. I highly recommend it to you. It's an action sci-fi shonen, and I think it's great for anyone, especially anyone who wants to draw strong, actual combat females. Should look into it and use them as an example of appearance, and never put a high heel in a combat again, or any skimpy outfit.
You know, I actually came across a funny little picture that has all these skimpily clad female warriors, but here's the thing. There's 3 of them in this picture. 2 of them are dead. 2 of them are dead, and the 3rd one is starting to back into a corner, and then we see the one who killed them. A woman wearing actual armor, wielding an actual sword.
Because that's how it should be.
Wearing actual boots, you know, greaves, the kind of stuff that a knight would actually want to wear in a battle, and she's cleaning the blood off her sword using the loincloth of one of the dead women, laughing at the 3rd one. It's like, I'm usually not into Guru, but not gonna lie, that picture quickly became one of my favorites.
Because that's how it should be. No one in their right mind would dress like that.
But, alright, time to switch out.
Oh, okay.
Well, unless there was something else you wanted to add.
No.
Okay. Okay, what the heck? Am I Terry Bogard now? Are you okay?
Are you okay, Annie? Annie, are you okay? I'm gonna
Okay.
it back.
My manga was Tamen De Gushi. I got it right behind the Tamen De Gushi, also known as Der Story. This is a comedy, school life, shoujo, AI, slice of life. You know, girls love manga, except here's the problem. It is not like other girls love mangas. Because these 2 are still just friends. And now I'm going to tell you why that's a good thing. I don't like yaoi or yuri mangas. The thing is that in my opinion, I have found that most shoujos, most stories that have tried to do romance tries to push the romance. It goes on moving too fast. Like, too many people saw Romeo and Juliet and now are head over heels over this love at first sight thing. And as a result, the romance is a little hard to believe. Because in many cases, the characters involved in said romance really don't know anything about each other. This one is different because these 2 are friends, right? Because they are friends and because they're getting to know each other, you end up believing it. And that's very important. Here's the thing. I was only supposed to read 10 chapters. Right now I'm chapter 110. This story does it well. And here's another thing. Another problem that a lot of these shoujo, AIs, yuri, yaoi stories do is that the story focuses entirely on the main couple. I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, most shoujos are a victim of this too.
They just push every other character out the way. Like, every other character out the way. And it shocks me because in a story like a shonen, that's considered a bad thing. That's considered an automatic negative. But shoujos do it so often. I mean, granted, lots of shounes are guilty of this too, but in those ones, they don't. But the fans of those ones, they don't try to hide it with saying, "Oh, it's just the main character." It's just so. No, a lot of fans will voice their disappointments that we don't get to see other characters doing things. Like, that was one of the reasons. I'm pretty sure that's for many people. That's one of the reasons why Bleach ended up being such a disappointment at the end. Because if your name wasn't Ichigo, well, then you just go. Just go already. You're not going to do anything.
Well, anyway, this manga didn't do that. You do have a lot of attention on other characters.
The attention placed on other characters is beautiful. We see their friends. We see their friends interact with each other. There are chapters where our main characters don't appear at all. And even though those chapters tend to be short, the fact of the matter is we get to see the personalities our friends are. And here's another thing about this manga that makes it so good. Every single one of these characters is likable. That's a big deal.
And you do want to see them get together.
You do want to see them happy. Heck, even the character that's supposed to be a jerk isn't a jerk to the point. And here's the thing.
He's a funny jerk.
He's a funny jerk. And even then, his jerk levels isn't anything like going out of his way to hurt them or humiliate them. It's just a smart, organized guy who's just pissed off of how relaxed and easygoing they take everything, and how in some ways it causes more work for him, and he's just mad over that. So when he gets back at them, for instance, there's a scene where it's raining, and he's the only one that brought an umbrella. You know what he does? He opens the umbrella in front of everyone, and basically dances into the rain, while whistling a happy tune, because he knows he's getting home. He doesn't have to put up with these guys, and they're going to have to watch as he gets home dry. It is delightful. Alright? The art style for this manga it's pretty good. The pages are all colored, which is hard, you know. Black and white is hard enough, but the color in the pages...
Oh, yeah.
Granted, I should probably address that the chapters tend to be very, very short, which definitely makes the job much easier. But at the same time, I don't care. Like I said, I was only supposed to read 10 chapters, now I'm in chapter 110. That's a strong testament of how enjoyable I found it. The situations are actually funny. Like I said, the characters are enjoyable. We see the characters, we see them, how they live in their day-to-day life, the way that these two meet, the way they interact with each other. They are friends. They are buddies. You can believe it. That's the most important thing here. Their relationships are believable. Many stories, many shoujos, many yaois, yuris, it doesn't work. If you were to actually step back and look at the relationships, and once again, feel free to correct me, most of them really aren't believable. Most of them would never take place in real life. This one...
I think that would depend, though. I've read a lot that feel real, but I've read also plenty that like to take the shoujo element of, which I believe is important in a shoujo, is slightly unrealisticness. I believe it is an important element in shoujos. And unfortunately, some of them apply that in yaois and yuris and all that, and instead of applying it in a good way where it's just basically a nice way to help set up the world and yeah, we're going to expect some cheesiness, they just basically use that to basically
justify everything.
Justify everything.
Justify lack of detail, lack of actual chemistry between the characters, which is another thing here. Because these two characters are friends, there is chemistry going on between them. One does something that makes one laugh, and it's funny. You know, we laugh with them. When one of them's upset, we also get upset. They're likable characters, and we feel what they feel.
And I'm going to just throw this out. One of the things that I think is great, and if you don't agree, you can just say it, is the fact is that our main character, I'm just going to go by their hair colors, the black hair one and the blonde, the black hair one, when she confesses, it's not at all forced onto the blonde and saying, you have to accept my love or we're not going to be friends. And when the black hair one comes out basically saying, hey, I think I'm in love with a girl, no one bats an eye. Everyone's just like, okay, when are you going to ask her out then?
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, we are in the year 2000. We're in the year 2016. We shouldn't care about those stuff anymore. We should not have our stories center around people being homophobic. And I really like how this one doesn't center around that. It's just people are just like, oh.
Which leads to another thing. In many yaoi or yuri stories, the thing is that, and I've heard you complain about this too, but they seem to take place in worlds where everyone is suddenly homosexual. Where, we meet our main character is a yuri couple, that's lovely, but then this one dude that they meet turns out, oh, he's also homosexual. This other chick they meet is also homosexual. Oh, that housewife has been happily married all this time. Turns out she was hiding in the closet this whole time. And so was her husband.
Basically, the problem is, unless you can justify it, and by justify it means that they're in a gay bar, you can't make all your characters gay. It's just that simple. We are a minority group, so you gotta keep us a minority.
Well, you're a minority.
You're a bigger minority.
Asexuals for life.
So you're a minority within a minority.
No, we're enlightened. We are friggin' enlightened
Okay,
because
no, I
you
don't-
guys are all about your heart, your love problems, and we're like, okay, let me just focus on some real problems like solving world hunger. But back on topic, I love this manga. I would give this thing a 5 out of 5 in a heartbeat. In fact, that's what I'm giving it, a 5 out of 5. Alright? Because great characters, great artwork, believable situations, a believable, real feeling relationship, and it's funny. It is legitimately funny. And the characters are legitimately likable. You want to see them happy, and they are happy. And yeah, for that reason, 5 out of 5. Read it.
Everyone should read it. And by the way, he only means by the fact is that he's happy they're friends is because he means by the fact is too many times you have characters
They go
who
from
meet-
strangers to boyfriend, girlfriend, and they go from strangers to boyfriend, girlfriend, and
Like
it
that.
doesn't work that way.
So he just likes the fact is that we're actually seeing
No
a
one-
relationship develop first as friends to that way when they do become a couple, it will feel completely realistic and justified.
Let me put it this way. Love at first sight is bull. No, it is bull. And the fact is, anyone who will go from stranger to boyfriend, girlfriend, in the minute, yeah, that relationship isn't going nowhere because you don't know anything about this person, which is why I like this. Because she sees the girl, she says, oh, she is cute. Let me actually get to know her as a person.
Likes, dislikes, her problems, her struggles, and let me also have her get to know me.
Yes, not a stalker. She goes to this girl and befriends her. They become friends. They hang out.
And then
She doesn't follow her around. She doesn't take pictures. She doesn't ask her friends about it. No. She befriends the person like a real human being actually looking for a relationship or just looking for someone to talk to would actually do.
And then when she has spent a good amount of enough time where she can say, hey, I think we could make it work, then she confesses in a completely normal way that doesn't at all make the person feel uncomfortable.
So, yeah, 5 out of 5. So then, what would you recommend to me in the future?
I recommend to you the manga Welcome to the Ballroom, or Ballroom Yakuzushi blah blah blah.
We
It's
are
a
really
long
bad
word.
with Japanese names.
I will eventually get this. Anyway, the point is the manga is called Welcome to the Ballroom, or another name for it
Ballroom
is
e yokusha.
Yokushu.
Yokusha.
Yokuso.
You know, we could do a whole video, but I was just trying to pronounce the names like this.
We could. Or another name is Sweep Over the Dance Hall.
Alright, and the manga I'm going to recommend to you is Helk. It's unique. And you know what? That will be all. We finally got this episode down.
Let's end it before it goes.
Alright, so if you enjoyed this, please like and if you haven't already, subscribe.
And remember, the links for the mangas will be available in the
Description
below.
So?
So comment, subscribe, like, leave a thumbs up.
Already said all that.
You did? Alright, bye!
Ciao.